Every god on this channel calls her mother, or grandmother, or great-grandmother. Zeus does, Hades does, Kronos does. Even the titans who imprisoned each other, betrayed each other, went to war against each other for control of the universe. All of them, without exception, trace back to the same single figure. She is older than the sky. She is older than time itself as a concept. Hesiod's theogony introduces her in the same handful of lines as chaos itself, second only to the gap that preceded her, meaning Gaia isn't just an early figure in this mythology. She's effectively tied for oldest. This is the story of Gaia, and the part of her story most retellings leave out entirely. She was never just scenery. As we covered in our last episode, Gaia was one of four things to emerge from chaos, the vast primordial gap that came before everything. Where chaos was empty space, Gaia was the opposite, solid, physical, permanent ground. Alongside her came Tartarus, the abyss below, Eros, the pull of attraction, and Erebus, the darkness. But of the four, only Gaia was something you could actually stand on. She wasn't a location gods would later inhabit. She was the first thing solid enough to be one. It's worth noting how differently ancient sculptors and vase painters treated her compared to the other three. While Chaos, Erebus, and even Tartarus were rarely, if ever, given a fully human form in surviving art, Gaia appears again and again as a recognizable, dignified woman, often shown emerging from the ground itself only from the waist up, literally still part of the earth she represents. Here's where Gaia immediately breaks the pattern every later god will follow. She didn't need a partner to create. On her own, without a mate, Gaia produced Uranus, the starry sky, to cover her completely and equally on all sides, and Pontus, the sea. Two of the most fundamental structures of the physical universe, sky and sea, exist because one primordial goddess generated them by herself. Every act of creation that comes after this in Greek mythology requires two parents. This one didn't. Hesiod is explicit about this detail in a way he isn't about much else in the theogony. He specifically notes Gaia acted without sweet union of love, a phrase scholars have long taken to mean this wasn't simply unrecorded parentage, but a deliberate statement that these two acts of creation were categorically different from every other birth in the poem. Gaia then took Uranus, the son she had just created, as her consort, a detail ancient sources state plainly and without commentary, reflecting how differently early cosmological myth treated kinship compared to later human-focused stories. Together, they had 18 children across 3 distinct forms: the 12 Titans, the 3 one-eyed Cyclopes, and the 3 Hecaton Cares, giants with 100 hands each. 3 completely different body plans emerging from the same 2 parents, with no explanation in any surviving source for why the variation happened at all, or why it happened in exactly that order. We'll spend an entire episode on that generation soon. For now, what matters is this. Every one of them was Gaia's child first. Every single figure from that future episode, the ocean, the sun and moon, prophecy itself, memory itself, and eventually the Olympians who overthrow all of them, descends from a single mother who, at this point in the story, still doesn't have a throne, a temple built in her specific honor, or a seat at any council that will later decide the fate of her own descendants. We go deep on Uranus's reign in his own dedicated episode, so here's the short version. Uranus found several of his children monstrous and imprisoned all 18 of them inside Gaia's own body as soon as they were born. Ancient sources describe the pain this caused her as continuous and immense, not a metaphor, but a literal, ongoing agony inflicted by her own husband using their own children as the method. Hesiod uses the phrase that Uranus rejoiced in his evil doing as he did it. One of the few moments in the entire theogony where a primordial figure's internal emotional state is described at all, which makes Gaia's suffering, by contrast, the poem's actual emotional center long before any god we'd recognize by name even exists. Gaia did not simply endure it. She forged an adamantine sickle, the hardest material in existence, unbreakable by anything, and gathered her Titan children to ask for help ending Uranus's reign. This is the moment that gets remembered as Kronos' story, and it is, partly. But the plan, the weapon, and the decision to act were entirely hers. Kronos was simply the only child who agreed to carry it out. Hesiod even records Gaia's own words to her children as she made the request. She calls Uranus's crimes shameful and asks which of them will help her get justice. And of 12 Titans, 11 stay silent. Only the youngest speaks. It's worth remembering that detail the next time this exact silence versus one volunteer pattern shows up again, because it does, more than once, in generations still to come. Gaia's story doesn't end once Kronos takes the throne. In fact, she stays active across every single generation that follows. It's Gaia, alongside Uranus in most accounts, who later warns Kronos that he, too, is fated to be overthrown by one of his own children, the exact prophecy Kronos then spends his reign trying and failing to prevent. She isn't just the mother who set the first betrayal in motion. She's the one who keeps telling every ruler after that betrayal exactly how their own reign will end, and being right every time. It's a genuinely unusual role for a mythological figure to hold across multiple generations. Most oracles and prophets in Greek myth appear once, deliver a single fateful line, and vanish from the story. Gaia does this repeatedly across different rulers, different centuries of in-story time, and different consequences. And every single time, events unfold exactly as she said they would. When Zeus later defeats the Titans in the Titanomachy and imprisons them in Tartarus, Gaia isn't neutral about it. Angered on behalf of her Titan children, she mates with Tartarus itself and produces Typhon, described by Hesiod as the most fearsome creature ever born. A monster with 100 serpent heads, capable of matching the newly victorious Zeus in direct combat. Zeus wins, but only after a battle so violent ancient sources describe it as nearly unmaking the sky itself. Hesiod describes mountains echoing, the sea boiling, and even Tartarus itself trembling during the fight, language he doesn't use for the earlier Titanomachy, suggesting Typhon may have genuinely been the single greatest threat Zeus's reign ever faced. Gaia isn't a passive Earth mother sitting out the politics of Olympus. She is, across 3 separate generations, the single most consistent political force in this entire mythology, and she never once fights a battle herself. Every confrontation she starts by creating someone else to fight it for her. Modern retellings tend to flatten Gaia into a background concept. Mother Earth, present in name only, rarely an active character, usually depicted sleeping, dreaming, or simply present as scenery behind whichever Olympian is actually driving the plot. Ancient sources don't support that flattening at all, and it's worth asking why the flattening happened in the first place. Later, Greek and Roman storytelling increasingly centered younger, more individually characterized gods with clear personalities and dramatic arcs. And a primordial figure who mostly acts through intermediaries doesn't fit that narrative style as easily, even though her actual influence outlasts every one of them. She creates alone. She plans the overthrow of a tyrant. She delivers accurate prophecies that every subsequent ruler ignores at their own peril. And when she disagrees with how the universe is being run, she personally engineers a creature nearly capable of ending Zeus's reign before it even properly begins. She is, if anything, the most politically consistent figure across the entire span of this mythology. More consistent than Zeus, more consistent than Kronos, more consistent than any single Olympian. Compare her track record to any single ruler covered in this pantheon. Uranus reigns once and falls. Kronos reigns once and falls. Zeus's reign is the longest of the 3, but even his authority gets challenged repeatedly by Typhon, by the giants, by conspiracies among his own family. Gaia is the only figure whose influence never actually ends. Nearly everything we know about Gaia comes from Hesiod's Theogony, our primary source for this entire origin story arc. Her name and legacy outlasted the myths themselves. Modern Earth systems science borrowed her name directly for the Gaia hypothesis, the theory that the planet functions as a single self-regulating system. The hypothesis, proposed by the scientist James Lovelock in the 1970s, argues that the planet's biosphere, atmosphere, and oceans interact as a single self-regulating system that keeps conditions stable enough for life. A strikingly literal echo of a goddess whose entire ancient identity was the earth that generates and sustains. It's a strange kind of legacy for a figure most people can only vaguely place in mythology. Her name describes an actual scientific model of the earth, while her actual story, the plotting, the prophecy, the war monster she raised out of sheer anger, gets left out of the popular version almost entirely. Next, the sun she created to cover her completely, the first ruler of the universe, and exactly why his own children turned against him. Subscribe so you don't miss it.